the what is the inflation? Is the real of rate of inflation excluding the effect of food and energy prices. So, what is hyperinflation? Hyperinflation is when things are out of control. This type of inflation is very rare, but when it occurs, it often leads to a total economic collapse. Let me give you a keen example of core inflation and hyperinflation. What is a core inflation? For example, right, if we go in January, the prices were for everything was normal, or let's go specifically to the hand sanitizers, masks, and respirator and N95 or the ventilators. The prices were yani one mask is coming in say 1 real, a respirator was coming in 5 or 7 real, and respirator N500 was 95 was coming in say 50 real or 75 real, and the ventilators were coming in 20 or 25,000 real. So that was the core inflation rate. And when the hyperinflation, when this inflation increases all of a sudden due to the increase of all of a sudden demand, aggregate demand increases for these commodities. What happened due to the pandemic, due to the this coronavirus? So inflation, the things go out of stock all of a sudden. Factories, there is no aggregate supply. This type of inflation is rare, as I explained to you. Okay, but when it occurs, it often leads a total economic collapse. So the companies are shutting down itself or reducing the number of workers. Along with that, the country's economies are collapsing. See the China, due to it was a major consumer of oil, so due to that the demand of petrol or demand of diesel or demand of any type of benzene was reduced, which causes a sudden decline in the per barrel purchase of oil. So everything is interrelated. So and China was the third biggest user of or consumer of oil. So it affects the oil prices globally overall, and it goes down 7 to 8 per barrel. It reduces. Good morning. Okay, so Khalid, can you please mute your mic, please? I'm hearing my echo.
That's not me.
Okay. Uh, so any question between inflation and sorry, core inflation and hyperinflation? Khalid, any question? Welcome, brother. Brother, you are not doing any assignment which been assigned to you. So kindly, I advise you to finish your assignments from now on. Okay. Identifying causes of inflation. Identifying causes of inflation. Mm, Okay, guys, what is the our next topic after the core inflation and hyperinflation? Now we are going to study the root causes for inflation. What are the major factors that affects the inflation or in takes the core inflation towards hyperinflation? So number one cause is, according to the economists, there are three basic causes. Number one, growth of money supply, changes in aggregate demand, changes in aggregate supply. So, what is growth in money supply? Now, it's the quantity theory. So, whenever anything is in excess, right now, Royal Rice, Bentley, and this Germany company Volkswagen, they stopped manufacturing the car for the due to the pandemic, and they are manufacturing the ventilators. What is the reason? Because the reason is these things are required by the humanity, and they are in high in demand. So they can only be met when there are that demand can only be met when there is enough supply. So when there is a gap between demand and supply, aggregate demand is higher. See, aggregate demand is almost the amount of goods and services in the economy. So inflation can occur when demand for goods and services exceeds existing supplies. So that is the one reason changes in aggregate demand can cause inflation. Second, I was talking about growth of money supply. The quantity theory of inflation states that too much of money in the economy causes inflation, which means if we print the money unnecessarily, it will do what? It will cause inflation. I told you, I remember in my first lecture of the year, while we were discussing about economy, when we print or out any type of economy or any country print out any currency, they have certain amount of reserves of what? Either they have the reserve of gold or they have the reserve of silver. When they have that certain amount of gold available, they print out new currency notes. Unnecessary printing of the notes can cause inflation. Or let me explain it in this way: the money supply, because the money, the currency itself, if it is not monitored carefully to keep it in track or to keep it in line, nation's productivity uh, ratio or the real GDP get affected. Any questions? Khalid, any question for growth of money supply or aggregate demand, changes in aggregate demand? Okay, guys. Now, what is changes in
Teacher,
aggregates? Yes, Fozan.
yes,
Welcome.
hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Teacher, I can't attend the business class. Is it okay?
Fozan, this is yani we deliver the lecture. That's why my every lecture or every teacher's lecture is recorded.
Ah,
So
it's recording.
yeah, so when you are not able to attend it, just go to the library or particularly for me, I am putting into the additional libraries. You go there, I am providing the same link for the business class. So you just copy it and paste in your browser, and when you paste it there, the link will open and the whole class will open in the same way you open in the YouTube. So the every
Okay,
lecture, me, I am speaking, or any other student who is speaking, or your questions, everything will appear. The same lecture will be there. Okay,
okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, any questions so far related to the topic, Fazan?
No.
Okay. Fazan, did you? I didn't see your new assignments for business and economics. I put
Yeah, I will do
yesterday.
them today, inshallah.
Okay, and I am going to do it to put some assignment because I am putting not too much because I know every teacher is giving. So I'm just putting one question, and I am putting this as a type in order you can understand the basic concept of every lecture. Okay, so please try to do it. If you don't understand, I open the discussion room. I'm not particularly talking to you, Fazan. I'm telling everyone. please contact me in the discussion room, mention it there what you don't understand, and I will try to explain one more time. Changes in aggregate supply. Finally, inflation occurs when producers raise prices in order to meet increased costs. Higher prices for raw material can cause cost to increase. Wage increases, however, are more often the biggest reason because wages are the largest single production cost for most supplies. Or another cause we can say, uh, wage increases in low unemployment. When there is low unemployment, everybody is employed, so the companies have to pay more wages. It doesn't mean the price of the wage increase, it means because the number of people are all the most number of people are employed, so the money or the spending power of the company has increased. They are spending more money because they are producing more goods. So employers must often higher wages to attract and retain workers. So if the company, if there is less employment, and I want to keep or retain the good, I want to keep and retain the loyal and the efficient employee, I should give him an increase, a raise in the salary or in the wage. So, in order to do that, what will happen? Low unemployment also causes increase in the inflation rate due to the uh, excess of money is supplied to them. Okay, now this thing is called wages price spiral. uh, the process by which rising wages cause higher prices and higher prices causes higher wages. This is called wage price spiral. Khalid, kindly mute your call, Malish. Wage, yeah, guys, wage price spiral. The process by which rising wages causes higher prices and higher prices causes higher wages. Welcome, Mr. Amri. Kindly mute your mic. What is interpreting effects of inflation? Now, interpreting effects of inflation, there are three types of basic effects on inflation. Number one, effects on the purchasing power. Number two, effects on income. Number three, effects of interest rates. These are the three basic concepts when we are interpreting the effects of inflation. Now, let's discuss one by one. What is interpreting effects of inflation on the purchasing power? See, the purchasing power, I was telling you, if you go to the core, one thing we were purchasing, like what we say, the milk, which is coming right now, 1 liter is coming in 7 real. And due to pandemic, if it goes out of the stock or the supply of the milk didn't arrive, and the shopkeeper had in stock left, so what he will do on purpose, he will increase the price of that commodity, price of the milk. So the same which were you getting at 7 real, maybe he is selling you right now at 10 real. So that is what you were purchasing the 1 liter in 7 real before, and now you are purchasing same 1 liter in 10 real. So what happened? Your purchasing power has decreased because you are purchasing the same commodity of good and paying more. So the purchasing power has decreased due to inflation. Anyhow, this leave the effect. Why? How do the inflation occurs? Pandemic or normal or core or hyper, but the effect is you have lost your purchasing power. If there was one example in the book which was saying that if you have a house and the real estate price was $500,000, so that 500,000 now today is the current rate of this one. After 6 months, do I'm not gonna sell it at the same 500,000. Definitely, I want to make some profit. So there are certain. So maybe I will sell that amount, sell that real estate in 525,000, 550,000, or 600,000. Guys, the effect, the change in the real estate value, in gradual time period, it shows what? It also shows us that I am I spend the same 500 to 600. For me, if I see, it's natural that I earn 600 minus 500. Yani 600 is my sale price, 500 is my cost price. 600 minus 500, 100,000 is what? Logically, it's a profit. But guys, the time period for which I retain that real estate, for which I spend the maintenance and everything on that real estate, or I pay to the caretaker, who's gonna bear the expenses? Definitely, I'm going to pay. So that cost is also included in the 600,000. And with the span of time, or with the passage of time, that 600,000 is what? That is equal to the same 500 or 525,000 which I spended 6 months back. So the value of 600, that we call time value of money. So time value of money will remain the same when your purchasing power is decreased. So the thing you are getting right now for the amount of money, you are not going to get in the future. So the second effect is effect of income. So inflation, it sometimes happen. It not all the time or always happen until and unless you resign the job and go and join a new job. What will happen here if the wage increases match the inflation rate? Normally, the employers do not increase the wage at the rate of the inflation rate. They don't give you. For example, the inflation rate right now, let's say, is 10%. Okay, the inflation rate is now 10%. So that 10%, and what is the income? Maybe he give you an increase of 2.5% or 1% or 3% or 3.5%. 3.5%. So what will happen? It will minimize the effect when real uh, workers are going, real income is going to turn. He is going to give you maybe 2.5%, 1%, 2.3, 3%, maximum 3%. The employers are going to increase your income. So for that, in order, first you were having 1,000, and now right now you are getting your salary or your wage was 1,000, and your spending power was 1,000. Due to inflation, now your uh, purchasing power has decreased, your spending power has decreased. You can only get this amount of goods which you were getting in 700 real. So what will happen at the end of the day? The effects of income, if until and unless you neither quit the job and search for another, and secondly, the again, the new employer is going to give you the same salary, or it will be increased due to inflation. First you were getting 1,000, now you are getting 1,300. So 1,300, the 300 gap which you were having in the which you were lacking due to the increase of inflation, now fulfilled 1,300. It doesn't mean that your purchasing power has increased. It means, or your salary has increased. It just means that you covered the gap. You balance yourself. Understood, guys? Now there is a concept of under effects of income, a fixed income. Now, what is a fixed income? A fixed income is income that does not increase even when the prices go up. That is why what we say, you are in an agreement with a company. So when you are in an agreement with a company and the company is paying you 1000 real every month until and unless the contract is finished, until and unless the contract is finished, you are not going to get any more money from them. You are not going to get. So this is what we call effect of income. The third one is effects of interest rate. Now, what is the effect of interest rate? I keep my money in the bank, and the bank is paying me right now, let's say, 8%. So now I will calculate which am I doing the correct or not. So for that calculating is there is a thing called return back, ROI, return on investment. Okay, some say it ROI, some say it IR, but mean the same in return on investment or investment return. So I deposit 100,000 Saudi Riyal in the bank. Bank is giving me 8%. Now, due to inflation, there are two things happen. Bankers, when they take, let's go to the bank first and understand their concept. When they give you money, they give you high interest rate. When they borrow from you or when they take from you as a saving, you deposit the money and you say it's my fixed account and I want to take it after 1 year or 2 years. They will pay you, that is called saving account. So they will pay you less percentage. They were taking charging you 11 or 13%, 11 to 12% when you are borrowing from them. But when you are giving or lending them the money, or when they are borrowing from you in the shape of you are opening a saving account, they are giving you only 8%. So there is a difference. Why there is a difference? Because bank don't have their own money. They take your money, they give to the others, keep their profit margin and commission and processing charges. That is the profit for the bank. That's how the banks work. So they keep their profit and then give. In case due to hyperinflation like this in pandemic, if companies start taking out the money, what will happen? Companies are withdrawing the cash, people are withdrawing the cash to so that they have cash in hand. They keep cash in hand, banks are getting empty. When they get empty, they will ask Sama. When they suggest, after suggestion they said take from 13% to 16 or 15%. When all of a sudden this hike or this in the steep in the curve will come of interest rate, in due to that interest rate inflation will, bank will stop give you loans on higher interest rate that you cannot afford. And in case you have any uh, savings, that savings becomes null, or the value of the saving will gradually start decreasing with the increase of inflation. The purchasing power, even you have saving, you have 100,000 saving, due to that inflation, again I will refer to the same purchasing power decreased due to inflation. Any question, guys? Khalid, any question? You understand the fact? Khalid, Fazan, Abdul Kareem, Sultan.
Yes, teacher, no question.
Yes, please. Okay. Now then, there is a recent trend in the rate of inflation, that factor which I was mentioning you the effect of interest rate, it will do what? That effect or your purchasing or your when your purchasing or saving power is decreased due to this interest or this cause, this is called deflation. Deflation in economy. Some experts say that deflation is a sustained or drop in the price level, but in the otherwise They also say it's the increase in the interest rate because countries borrows from each other. When you borrow the money from IMF or from the World Bank, okay, so when they increase the interest rate, definitely the subsidiary banks or the domestic banks or the SAMA, they have to increase the interest rate in order to keep what? To pay the installment to the IMF or to the World Bank and keep their profit or processing charges in order to meet their expenses to run the economy. Okay, guys, now I will do the lesson and questions. We finish this lesson. What is the purpose? Number one, what is the purpose of calculating core inflation rate and the inflation rate separately? Guys, it's a very technical question. Although core inflation rate and inflation rate is the same, but there is a little technicality in this. Core inflation is what? The basic inflation rate. Okay, when you are calculating anything, okay, the inflation rate is 4%, 4.5%. Inflation rate itself, like consider right now, inflation rate in actual, what was predicted by the Saudi government that it is going to be 3.5%. And all of a sudden, something happens in Wuhan and economy of China start collapsing because less demand and everything. Now, due to that one, they are calculating in certain conditions, they calculate it separately. Why? Because if any pandemic occurs or in war times, if you are in war, the country, when the countries are in war, where they calculate inflation rate that this is was the actual, this has to be, and this was forecasted and this was actual. So that is the purpose to keep them separate in order to calculate the actual what happened to us with what is the percentage difference between inflation rate and the core inflation rate. Understand? Now, how does inflation influence purchasing power? Yes, Fazan.
I was going to say yes, I understand.
Okay, good. Uh, Now, what is how does inflation influence purchasing power? That is the same I told you in the class that I give the assignment. What is the relation between purchasing power and inflation? Guys, when the inflation increases, purchasing power decreases. There is a inverse relationship. One increases, the other decreases. One decreases, the other increases. So that is the relationship, or that how the purchasing power get influenced by the inflation. What are the three possible effects of inflation? What are the three possible effects of inflation? Guys, any idea? Any idea what are the three effects of inflation? There are three effects. The number one I told you, effect on purchasing power, it will be decreased. Second, effects on interest rate. The interest rates will gonna take a hike. Effects on the income, it may increase, it may not increase. In either cases, all are showing that effect of purchasing power is decreased. What causes a wage price spiral and how does it affect the economy? I told you the definition of wage price spiral. The effect of a wage price spiral is what? It is the process of rising wages cause higher prices, and higher prices cause higher wages. It happens when you have low unemployment. It's good to have low unemployment, but it also increases the spending power of the companies because they have to give higher wages to keep and retain the loyal and efficient workers. So that's how they affect the inflation. When you are paying him too much, or all of a sudden the prices when they increase, so it can cause inflation. Sorry. Now, let's go move on to the new topic, that is poverty and income distribution. Now, what is poverty and income distribution? Any idea, guys? What do you refer it to in your mind? So, poverty, now, if we see, Khalid, you want to answer this? What is poverty? Okay, statistically, poverty is a greater risk. In if we see in general, 25 or 28% of the global population is living below the poverty line. Or maybe my figures are wrong. They maybe they are more. It can't be less, but they are more. If we go to the South Sudan, or if we go to the South this Africa side, and Nigeria, Kenya, there are problems. People are dying of food and hunger. Why? Because of the poverty. So now what? Let us understand what is poverty. Poverty is the scarcity or lack of certain amount of material possession or money. Poverty is multifaceted concept which may include social, economic, and political elements. Okay, so let me again how do rephrase when people don't have livelihood, when they don't have power to purchase the food, when they don't have the resources to, or the land they are living, it's a rocky sand, a rocky surface. On a rocky surface you cannot do an agriculture stuff. And on top of it, because you don't have means, you don't have the what we say, you don't have the resources to find out if your rocks or the mountains have any minerals in it, have any gold, copper, silver, uh, coal. Yani if you don't have the resources, so what is this? You have a scarcity. Maybe you have certain resources, but you don't have the resources to extract those resources. So poverty is multifaceted concept. It can be social, it can be economical, it can be political. Understood, guys? Now, what is the poverty threshold? It's the income level below which income is insufficient to support a family or household. Now, again, even if you are employed and your salary is less and you are unable to face any crisis, maybe some, if someone I hope nauzubillah nobody gets sick in anyone's family, but if all of a sudden they get sick and your salary is just enough to meet your monthly expenses and you don't have any savings, and or you saved a little, and when somebody gets sick you take her or him to the hospital. When during the hospital the expenses are too much that you are unable to afford, and then you have to borrow the money again. This is what it's a poverty threshold, income level below income which is not efficient to support a family or a household. Any question, guys? Now there is let's trends in the national poverty rate as shown. The poverty rate is the percentage of people who live in household with income below official poverty threshold. And what causes the poverty? It can be changes in family structure. It can be where people live, unequal treatment, low wage service jobs, lack of education. These are all factors of which causes poverty. Now let's start measuring the poverty. The poverty rate is the rate of, or is the percentage of people who live in a household with income below the official poverty threshold. Poverty rate differs sharply by groups such as race and ethnic origin, type of family, age, residence, inner city. Now let's go. What is the effect of or cause of poverty in changes in family structure? Maybe your salary is, let's say, 8,000. Now you can afford a family of 3 to 4 members in that 8,000 real. But with the passage of time, that 8,000 is not enough if your family structure or your number of family members increased. That's how single parent families are more likely to live in poverty than two parent families. That is the Western concept. They think right now, if we see in Islamic countries, most of the Islamic countries, if I give the example of Pakistan, or I take the example of Saudi Arabia, most of the breadwinners are the male, are the dominants are the male. So they bring them and they feed their family. There are very less participation from the women's side. Very less women's are only, I think I would say 10 to 15% women's are working or not a housewives. So both incomes come together, so two family, somehow this is right. But in some countries, single parent mostly are doing single. One is the house wife and the other one is the breadwinner, and both they are measuring. But if all of a sudden the new family members increased or number of family members increased, it will cause the poverty. When the guy is not able to uh, purchase the healthcare, not able to give the good education, not even not good to purchase the basic needs like food, so or shelter. If though he cannot provide this, he is considered as below poverty. He's living under the line of poverty or living in poverty. So that's one the change in family structure do. Number two, where people live. Now, can you name any area which is expensive in Riyadh? Fozan, Khalid, Ayadi. Welcome. Ayadi, can you name uh, any area of Riyadh which is expensive? Ayadi Fozan, are you active?
I am with you, Mr. Jawad.
Thank you, Rubian. Rubian, can
Thank
you give me any area name of Riyadh which is expensive to live in?
Yeah, there is Hattin.
Okay. So if I want to have a house or a villa there, how much rent I have to give?
Depends at the distance, but starting from maybe 4 million.
Okay, so that 4 million, if an average guy or I want to buy there, so I will consider myself, my resources are not enough, guys. So when I shift from places to places, the basic food, shelter, food, and health, these are the basic things. If I'm unable to provide these, that if I shifted to Hittin, I cannot afford it. So I will be considered living under poverty. So we have to make wise decisions while shifting anywhere or while relocating anywhere. Okay. So unequal treatment. Unequal treatment, if in your book it was mentioned that white workers generally earn higher salaries than the minority workers. Now they are not saying the black workers, they are saying, they specifically use the word white, but in the other they said minority workers. Who are the minority workers? Or if they said male earn higher salaries than the female workers. That is also a discrimination. So unequal treatment. Saudis are getting good pay, then Americans are getting good pay. If we compare it to the Asian workers like Bangladeshi, Indian, or Pakistani, we are getting less wages or less salaries in comparison to those. So this unequal treatment also take us towards inflation, also increase the prices, and which causes the poverty. Any questions for poverty, inflation, or deflation, guys?
Mm, I don't have questions.
Rubian, you are so good. You never have any question. I know that. Low wage service job. So now guys, if as I told you, you are a student, you graduated. Once you graduated, Rubian is right now, see, he's a student and he's also doing a job. What he is doing, self job. He has a pet center at his home. He is accommodating. So if we calculate, if his expenses are more and he's not able to meet those expenses by that service, that is what he is doing, a low wage service job. Rubian, are you able to meet your expenses in that way?
Yes, of course.
No, leave your father's pocket money and anything else.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
if
mean, beside the business outcome.
Uh, okay. No, yes, that what I'm saying. Only your in business income is enough, or your wages which you are earning from pet center is enough.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Okay, so in that again, guys, there are two factors. Depend upon your customer, type of customer. Am I right, Fozan? Okay, guys, our time has fulfilled. We will continue the lecture tomorrow, and I will be waiting you today at 12:15 for the business class. Thank you very much for your time, and have a nice day.